Recording in progress. 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 No. Good morning, friends, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Franklin and to the mountains of Western North Carolina and Northeast Georgia. We're a lay-led congregation of progressive minds and caring connections, where all who come with open minds and kind hearts are welcome. My name is Mary Teslow, and I'm pleased to be your service leader today. I am joined this morning by our Zoom host, Annette Watlington, music coordinator, Kallie LeFever, sanctuary tech support, Warren Riley, Bruce Bransma, Becky Thorndike, and greeters, Marge Abel and Bonnie Gramlich. Our church-related announcements. Big news, we're delighted to have a new big smart TV in the sanctuary along with a new stand. Thank you to Jill for doing the research, Jude and Becky for coordinating the purchase and delivery, and Warren and Bruce for putting the stand together, mounting the TV and connecting the tech. Based on the feedback from our town hall, our protocol for those in the sanctuary will require being fully vaccinated and boosted and to wear a mask other than when presenting or for medical reasons. When you sing, please sing softly to reduce any risk. For those in the sanctuary, our opening hymn will be 1008 in the teal hymnal if you'd like to sing along. Also, there's a bowl at the entry for any donations. Do we have any announcements in the sanctuary? Any on Zoom? Sounds like we're good. The listening room is presenting Laura Herskovitz this Friday, July 15th at 7 p.m. at the Holly Springs Community Center. More information is in the UUView or from Robbie Greenberg. Please be sure to check the UUView for opportunities to be together. All events use this same link. Our fellowship is a light for liberal religion in the mountains that values diversity and the richness that it brings to our community. Our celebration of diversity is reflected in the variety of our Sunday services. Today we welcome back our friend John Snodgrass with a message titled Automatic Mannerisms. We hope today's service enriches your journey. Our opening words are from Reverend Krista Taves. Whether you have come here with heart full or heart empty, with spirits high or low, rested or tired, hopeful or despairing, whether you have come here out of habit, conviction, loneliness, or curiosity, you belong here, and all that you have and all that you are is welcome here. This morning we are together the heartbeat of this fellowship. Our chalice lighting is from the UU Fellowship of Oberlin, Ohio. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather round this light of hope as we share this time together. Our opening hymn, as I said, is number 1008 in the teal hymnal. You're welcome to sing along when our heart is in a holy place. Annette, that would be our pre-song. We need to let Kallie do our first hymn.
To pledge ourselves anew.
Sorry, Kallie, this is
the high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us.
you want to do 108 now?
I think so. Let's give it a whirl. We'll see.
Okay.
When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space and the God of truth within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. Holy place, when our heart is in a
I apologize that we didn't have sound in the sanctuary. Hopefully we can resolve that before the offertory. Our offering words are by Reverend Heather Christensen. Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. That vision is embodied in a few large congregations, numerous mid-sized congregations, and many, many small congregations. No matter its size, every congregation depends on each of its members. Each one of you, by your commitment of time, energy, and resources, helps make this grand vision real. Individually and together, we are Unitarian Universalists, building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. Warren, are we going to be able to hear the music here in the sanctuary?
We're trying something now. Okay, now go to the local speakers.
We'll just wait a moment and take a little breath break while we see if we can be able to hear the offertory. It's a love. You I receive, to you I give, and it begins with a little sign language introduction. Warren, do we want to go ahead and try this screen share?
Yes.
Would you like to go ahead, please? Oh.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Dedication of our gifts. Gifts given in love and hope continue a cycle of love and hope. So may it be. We're delighted to welcome back our good friend John Snodgrass this morning. John teaches college courses about myth, ritual, and critical thinking. He is the author of Supernatural Shakespeare, Myth and Ritual in Merry Old England. Sample chapters of this and his other books can be found at j-snodgrass.com. He lives with Elizabeth and their 4 children in Buffalo. His message this morning is titled Automatic Mannerisms. Please join me in welcoming back John Snodgrass.
Well, good morning. To see you all again. I've never been very good at elevator talk. I've got 2 modes of speech, preacher and professor. That's how I ended up here. And if I hadn't been invited to speak here today, I would probably still be giving a 20-minute talk right now to one of my children about skateboard helmets or too much screen time. So on behalf of my kids, I can thank you right now for letting me get some of this early morning chatterboxing out of my system. I've never been good at elevator talk, but last month I had a really fascinating conversation, one that really made me think. I was taking the elevator up to a classroom. The other passenger was a short, broad woman of about my age, maybe another teacher at the college, and she was facing the door. I had spent the 2-minute ride silently contemplating the first words I would say in class, and when the door opened, she did not move. And as I began to sense that the door would close again, I saw just the space I needed to sidestep through, and just in case I had passed too close, I muttered, she grunted, "Excuse me." It was one of those things. Her response did not even register down the hall, and the door had already closed again behind me. But something, it seemed, had gone terribly wrong in this brief interaction. What had I said? What had she heard? What was she trying to say, and what had I heard? A tall, skinny guy and a short, round woman had said the exact same syllables, and yet the words had different meanings. I had meant to apologize for passing through her personal space, and then as I walked down the hall, I wondered, had her rude response been an invasion of my personal space? Someone. You consider them your equal? Or does it mean that you've already dismissed their feelings and you're going to do what you're going to do? Maybe I had accidentally stumbled into a longer, larger discourse about gender or cultural norms, or even privilege. I have a gentle sense of, I apologize. Maybe she had heard it in the aggressive sense of, you're in my way. Or perhaps she heard excuse me in some other sense. I certainly hope she didn't think I was the kind of guy who would, I don't know, stink up an elevator and then, kind of breeze out onto his floor. Thinking about it now, I don't even know if I was really talking to her. As a child, I developed the idea that God keeps track of whether you say excuse me or not. So it was sort of a prayer for God's forgiveness. Like if I'm walking in the woods alone and I burp and it doesn't even make a sound and there's no one for miles to hear it, do I still say excuse me? Of course I do. But none of this was on my mind as I passed this woman leaving the elevator. My excuse me was as mechanical as the ding in the automatic door. It got me thinking about mechanical, automatic mannerisms, pre-programmed responses. Things like, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? It's an invitation to make a connection, but mostly it's an invitation to say, I'm fine. It completes a circuit. It's cold and mechanical. It's also ritualistic. It's a communion. When I run into someone and they ask, how are you? How are you about to become my problem? So responding, I'm all right, is meant to let them off the hook. Unless it's my mom, because she knows that if she calls and says, how are you? She's in for 10 minutes of chatter. And we talk every Friday, so she's already got that on her schedule. It's the same with my kids. When I ask, how are you? They can say, I'm fine, but they already know that I'm going to keep asking questions until I know everything. As a father, I need to constantly keep track of how many children I'm responsible for at the moment. So when I run into someone and I say, how are you? I'm kind of asking, is your security about to become my? Do you need to become one of my children for a minute or for an hour? Do you need me to cook you an egg or help move a couch or agree to menace someone who's bullying you? And when the person says, I'm fine, I think, good, because I don't really think I could take on your boss's father. And then they say, oh, and you? Oh, yes, I'm fine. And that means I've got problems, deep emotional problems, poisonous problems, neurotic problems. But whining at you for 2 minutes won't fix that. It'll only make me feel childish and exposed. I say, I'm fine. And I mean, my problems aren't about to become your problems. I'm not about to become your kid. My wife, Elizabeth, is a doctor. So 15 times a day, she says, how are you? And she gets somebody's whole medical history. My brothers are both lawyers. So they say, how are you? And they expect legal information. The client can say anything they want. Emotional, spiritual, existential, personal, whatever. It's all confidential, but they don't because it's also all billable. This reminds me of a joke where a woman is walking past a construction site and a piece of debris falls down and hits her in the head. And the foreman runs up and says, are you okay? And she says, well, how should I know? I'm a doctor, not a lawyer. Automatic responses. What do they find out their true importance in their absence? Last month, I was teaching in my Native American Studies course, 25 students covered in various stages of engagement or in boredom or whatever. Each one occupied a different plane of existence in relation to the classroom, the teacher, and the topic, which was Cherokee history. I was speaking well, but I was also conscious of needing to bring this around to a discussion question before everyone floated off into imagination land. So I was working toward a transition to a discussion topic when someone sneezed, and I decided to keep going. But something changed in the room. Like 25 kids held their breath at once and hung suspended in silence, like a vacuous black open right there in the classroom. And anything I said about the Cherokee would disappear into this empty abyss. So I paused mid-sentence, nodded in the general direction of the sneeze, and said, "Bless you." And then, I don't know how precisely to describe it, the pulse of the room, the electricity, the magnetism in the air, it resettled. The students could breathe again, and I set up the question for the class discussion. In that moment, the dispersed focus of all these scatterbrained people, whatever they were meditating, daydreaming, pondering, attentively listening to the talk about Cherokee spirituality. But for a moment, all of the attention in the room unified, not focused on the sneezer, but hooked on the absence of a response. The lack of this mutter produced a silence that was dense and deafening. Why? Had the sneeze, and I hear that sneezes travel at 2 hours, had the force of it pushed the Earth out of orbit, tilted the universe off its axis, and could it be righted again by these magic words? At home, I say "bless you" when one of the children sneezes. I don't tell them they have to say it because I believe everyone should, make their own choice on their own spiritual journey. Also because I don't want to get stuck with the hard questions. Is the blessing Trinitarian? In the sense that it will cover 3 rapid fire sneezes? Or does it only cover the first one? Or should you wait until the 3 sneeze series is over and then say it once or thrice? Or what if the person holds in the sneeze and their ear makes that squeaky sound? And what about pets? If your dog sneezes and you don't say "bless you," will God choose that specific moment to determine once and for all whether dogs go to heaven? The expression "God bless you" once functioned as a religious benediction. Pope Gregory the Great installed it by papal order during a plague when priests were frantically scampering around town to do last rites. And so the Pope deputized believers to issue this blessing from God right there on the spot in the moment. A bit confusing, because if someone were dying of plague, it would make more sense to think that God had cursed them and then quickly move along. But if a plague victim sneezed at you, it was likely a sign that you were next, in which case uttering a quick prayer might momentarily summon God to catch you in a compassionate act. But 1400 years later, in the post-industrial production of these words doesn't strike me as religious anymore. Most people drop God from the blessing, making me wonder who they think is blessing me, or if they've appropriated this godlike power for themselves. It barely functions even as superstition. Like, do we call tomorrow to ask if our blessing worked? I classify it under manners, and then as a teacher, I have to weigh out whether it might be bad manners to interrupt with this English custom and arming to invade a sovereign Native American factoid. I decided in that instance, not the absence of this mechanical custom created a rift in the space-time continuum, which could only be closed by a magical incantation. I discussed it with my brother, a lawyer, and he argued conclusively that my pausing class to say a prayer was a total breach of educational standards and that it should be illegal. Never mind that I was teaching at a Jesuit college. He said that any and all state funding should immediately cease if any liturgy or magic or superstition was promulgated in class by the professor. Then I brought it up in a discussion seminar class called Introduction to Critical Thinking, where students debated the issue. One student said that you should say something, but that it should not be a prayer. One student suggested that God bless you should be replaced by 3 syllables assembled totally at random. And someone else helpfully mentioned that this has already happened. Some folks use a Jabberwocky nonsense word, Gesundheit. I then had to explain that this word makes perfect sense in German, and this had to be explained with some caution, since a public sneeze is a vulnerable moment, and you don't necessarily want to get barked at in a language that always sounds vaguely menacing. Gesundheit just means health, but it kind of sounds like you're ordering somebody to be healthy or else. Another student recommended that when someone sneezes, you should say, "Excuse you." But I don't think that's precisely right, and I'm too old to change my pre-programmed responses anyway. Perhaps the only safe solution would be, when someone sneezes, to say, "Bless you," and quickly follow it with "Excuse me," in case your benediction intrudes upon their personal beliefs. Or if you're afraid that the sneeze might rocket some sickness in your direction, you could just say, "Bless me." And then if the sneezer stares quizzically at you, you could say, "And you too," if you believe it'll do any good. We here in this room will say "bless you" or not. It's not my intention to deliver a conclusive, decisive statement on the matter. Instead, I'll end with a riddle. If a Christian sneezes and a Unitarian says "bless you," can it actually help? Well, I doubt that it could do any harm. Thank you.
John, thank you so much. It's always such a gift to have you with us, and will give us lots to consider and lots to talk about.
Thank you.
We are delighted this morning to welcome our own Selma Sparks with our closing song, "What a Wonderful World."
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are always on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I'll watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are always on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I'll watch them grow. They're gonna learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Selma. That was absolutely wonderful. We'll now pause our recording for joys and concerns. We'll now resume the recording. Our closing words are number 683 from the Reverend Theodore Parker, a transcendentalist and reforming Unitarian minister. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith divine living. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry the flame with you and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. When we are together, we circle our round sanctuary and join hands for our closing circle and covenant. For now, those in the sanctuary may choose to join hands, while those on Zoom will join you in spirit as we recite our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and community is its goal. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So may it be.